Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order the October 29th Finance, Audit, and Budget Committee. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is adoption of the agenda. I'll take a motion to adopt.
Agenda.
Support Zinner.
Motion from Commissioner Romano, support from Commissioner Zinner. Commissioners, please vote.
Great.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you. Next is item 4, approval of the minutes. I'll take a motion to approve the minutes dated October 27th, 2025.
Support Perna.
Motion from Commissioner Goyke, support from Commissioner Perna. Comments, changes to the minutes? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you. Next is public participation. Anybody from the public wishing to speak on any item on today's agenda for a maximum of 3 minutes is welcome to the podium.
Thank
Give
you,
us your
Commissioner
name and
Kraft.
off you go.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Kraft. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for a quick moment. My name, if you do not know, is Steve Fox. I'm an assistant prosecuting attorney from Macomb County, have been for now my 20th year. I'm the head of our major crimes unit. I'm the head of our cold case unit, previously the head of our auto theft unit and senior crimes unit, and most importantly for this discussion, a principal trial attorney with our office. I've given to all of you, I don't know if you have them yet, a handout, just because I know I need to be quick here, that has a summary of this information, and it has 2 slides from a compensation study in 2018. And what I want to make sure you know is that I'm not here to negotiate anything. I'm simply here to put forward and provide you information about what appears to be an error previously committed, maybe inadvertently committed by my administration, previous administration of Mr. Smith. Quite frankly, as we are, at the end of this, I'm hoping that you will understand why the prosecutors, and specifically the principal assistant prosecuting attorneys, those are the most experienced prosecutors handling the largest cases, the most violent cases, the most difficult cases, should be, again, once again, on par with assistant corporation counsel in the pay grade designation. And I'll let you know how that, I believe, error happened previously and why they're not now. To make this correction would be less than 0.5% of the prosecutor's office budget. It is part of the request he's made today. It would be 0.2% of the rainy day fund. It would be 0.0000002% of the overall budget. So quite frankly, if I was to say pennies on the dollar, that would be overstating the cost. The human cost, however, is significant. As you may know or maybe not recall, there was a classification study done in 2018. It had several findings. We've attached 2 of them. It found, and its purpose was to make sure that employees were appropriately paid so that they could be retained. It found that principal assistant prosecuting attorneys were underpaid by between 5 and 8%. Assistant corporation counsel were paid at 119% of what should be expected. And no, I'm not trying to get them a lower pay rate. Following that study, whether it was the folks within the Board of Commissioners at the time, whether it was the Finance Department or HR, both were designated as what is now considered a level M, as in Mary. It used to be a number, of course, but now it's a letter M. In 2020, I believe through the budget process, and obviously I was not part of this with Corporation Counsel, the Assistant Corporation Counsel moved from the letter M as in Mary to N as in Nancy. No corresponding move was made for principal APAs, even though we were both designated the same in the study itself and the Board of Commissioners designation afterwards.
Steve, you have 30 seconds.
Thank you. I suspect that was done by oversight and not intentional. I suspect that was done, as Brian Jacks said this morning, to our administration and to HR during the HR process, that it was done because we got, quote, lost in the shuffle when we changed from 5s to 3s to M's to N's to 14s to 15s. Quite frankly, I'm just asking that there be consideration to do exactly what the study says, which is to put us on par as we should have been, and in fact were before that change, to put us back on par so we don't continue to lose people like Rebecca Kelly, who just left after close to 30 years as chief of several units to go to Oakland County, specifically for money. Or ironically, 3 of the last 4 hires of Assistant Corporation Counsel have come from where? The prosecutor's office. It is one department pillaging another as a direct result of this oversight done a few years ago by a different administration. So I hope that you view this small cost as an expense to remedy a past wrong and correct it today.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Anyone else? All right, we will close the first public participation. There is one more before the end of the meeting, and we will move right on to budget reviews. I will take a motion to receive and file presentations for community corrections, emergency management, sheriff, E911 sheriff dispatch, and the prosecuting attorney. Motion to receive and file, please.
So moved.
Support.
Motion from Commissioner Van Sickle, support from Commissioner Goyke. Barb Caskey is going to be up first with community corrections. Barb, we'll start with pages D6 and 7. If there's any highlights there you want to present to us, and then after that, in questions, we'll move on to the opioid settlement fund pages. So go ahead, Barb.
Thank you. Good afternoon. There is a significant issue with the amount that we were funded through our Michigan Department of Corrections grant that I wanted to address with you today. We requested additional funds to take care of the increase that we saw in pretrial supervision. That includes both drug testing while individuals are on bond and electronic monitoring, as well as staff cost increases and some other line items that we were looking at having more this year than last. What we received about 2 weeks ago was notification that no one, any community corrections across the state would receive an increase. In fact, we were all receiving a 5% reduction from what we got last year. What this ends up resulting in is about a 12% in the red this year when we look at all of those staff cost increases. So we are looking at, versus having $60,000 in drug testing that we had last year, that's down to $20,000. And about $115,000 that we had last year in electronic monitoring, we are now down to $30,000. So I wanted to make you all aware of that because we're really having to go through the budget and look at where we can make changes that won't significantly impact our programming, but that's going to be very difficult to do. As you're aware, we did request an additional $40,000 from our county funds. That was also aimed towards tether costs because that is such a significant increase from what we had previously. What I can say is that even if we were to receive that $40,000 increase, we'd still be looking at about $115,000 less than what we had last year. In-house, we are making some policy changes that will hopefully reduce the amount of time that individuals are on electronic monitoring if they are in non-compliance. We are working with our district courts and our circuit court to take a look at individuals placed on electronic monitoring if they are continue in the community successful for a period of time, 90 days, 120 days. Look at possibly reducing that to maybe a drug testing program. The tether program is very expensive to facilitate, but it's certainly not as expensive as having someone in the jail while they're on bond. This is also potentially going to significantly impact the jail population issues that we have already. So that is the main point that I wanted to bring to your attention today for the Community Corrections Grant. There are no additional positions going into 2026. And the other line items remain primarily the same. So for those, did you want to do questions on those first and then, okay.
Yep, we'll start there. Thank you, Barb.
Yeah, no problem.
Commissioner Ha.
Thank you, Chair. Barb, hi.
Hi.
If I heard you correctly, the state reduced the amount of grant money that you had previously received.
That's correct.
Wasn't it the state that came out with a policy, I think, last year that indicated community corrections was to look at different protocols other than incarceration, and that you were forced to find different ways of dealing with juveniles other than incarcerating them?
For us, it doesn't apply to juveniles, but certainly for adults, that was the direction given. And even some programs that they had asked us to start implementing halfway through the fiscal year last year, they're asking that we continue, which is impossible for us to do. We don't have the funds for it.
So as Mr. Goike will remember, when we were up at the state, we called those unfunded mandates, where they passed down an order. It wasn't a suggestion, it's an order, in
Correct.
effect, to put this in place and then don't fund it. Matter of fact, they decreased the funds.
Right,
Am I
correct, by
understanding
5%,
that?
yes.
It's nice to see things don't change, Ken. So you are asking, Barbara, in summary, to use general fund dollars to bring the shortage, part of the shortage, from the grant back into the corrections division.
Correct, to be able to keep the numbers of individuals that we have that are able to be supervised on bond rather than incarcerated. And then we'll look at those policy changes that we're making and try to see maybe in mid-year if we can go back to MBOC and ask for additional funds if they're available.
You want me to say good luck?
Yes,
Thank you.
please, thank you.
That's all I have, Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Goike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Also, it's on the same lines as what the Commissioner was already talking about, was I thought, weren't they pushing for the people to be paying for their own, testing and their own ankle bracelets? And I guess if they're indigent with no cash, this is the slack money for that? Or is that policy not in effect if they have to pay for their own anymore?
No, we always, we meet with each individual and determine if they're indigent or not. For some, we may pay the initial enrollment fee in the first 30 days until they can get back into the community and be established. For others who may be on disability and don't have the income, but they're doing well in the community and we want them to maintain there, we may pay for that for a longer duration. So it depends.
So this is, because they are still paying. I just wanted to make the
Some are,
clarity on-
yes.
Yeah, all right.
Some are.
So it's, the shortfall on the people that cannot pay, because it's still saving us money.
Correct.
I totally agree by not having to be incarcerated.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Barb, the reduced numbers that you spoke of, are those reflected in our books, or is that something that's going to have to be updated?
That's going to have to be updated. We have to come to our numbers for the budget here months ago. What we found out was about 2-3 weeks ago based on not having a budget. But typically, we would have to come back and revise that anyway.
Right, okay. I just wanted to make sure. I figured that was the case,
Yes.
but just wanted to double check.
Yes.
Commissioners, any more questions on pages D6 or 7? I don't see any, so Barb will move on to the opioid settlement funds. Commissioners, that's on D26.
We have been discussing a lot of the programs that we're funding through the opioid settlement fund. What we're looking at is an additional approximately $500,000 for programming that we have, and the majority of that is programs that were implemented through the year last year, like the fully implemented MAP program, the Live Right youth programs, the engagement center assistance, things of that nature that just weren't fully funded last year because they came in partway through the fiscal year. And then an additional, there is a part-time position that was a consultant before, and that we're moving to part-time. And that would be to assist with the Central Intake and Assessment Center, mostly for programming. But in terms of services, that remains what we had been seeing before, just moving forward to start planning for the behavioral health and assessment services in the Central Intake and Assessment Center.
Thank you, Barb. I want to speak on behalf of CMH. We greatly appreciate your partnership and the work that you're doing. It's not easy work, but it's great to have a partner like you and the whole team help our team help this county. So thank you for that. Chair Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Hey, Barb. Can you talk about the capital outlay for $100,000, what you're looking for with that?
Yes, that is, we're looking at some sort of technology solution to try to work on the availability of data and referrals within the systems of the jail. So in terms of the different information systems that are used by my department, WellPath, the Sheriff's Department, Community Mental Health, we've got to come up with a better solution of identifying the individuals that are coming in the jail, identifying the needs they have, and then quickly routing referrals and information to those resources. So we've started talking with the jail tracker system that's already in place at the sheriff's department because that is the one that we all use already. But that may require some upgrades and some assistance from our IT department as well.
So you're gonna use the same system, or you're gonna get a new system?
We're looking at the possibilities. At this point, we don't know. We're looking and seeing what Jail Tracker is able to do for us, and if we can make that work. If not, we may have to go with something in addition to that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Chair. Barb, are there any more outstanding potential lawsuits? that we-
Yes.
Are there still some that we could be part of or are part of that have not come to a resolution yet?
Yes, there are still some things that we're hearing about. There's nothing set in stone, but there are still some potential additional lawsuits that could be happening.
Okay, perfect. And then one more question from me. You said we're moving a part-time, or we're adding a part-time person, correct?
Yes,
Is there, they were currently contracted?
they were in contract services before,
Okay,
previously.
so can you explain maybe I missed this, the jump in contract services from basically last year to this year and then moving forward?
Yes, that's all of our providers that are providing services for us are included in contract services. So when we went from an increase, for example, with the Sacred Heart contract with Matt, those are all included in there.
Got it. Thank you, Barb. I don't see any other questions. Barb, you're all set.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Next, we will move on to emergency management with Brandon. Budget pages C29 and 30, Commissioners. We will start with those two. We'll get through the description and some questions, then we'll move over to the D pages. Okay, Brandon, go
All
ahead.
right, sounds good. All right, so general fund, pretty simple for this year. The requested expenditures in the general fund are only $1,900 additional beyond what finance initially recommended based on past years. And those are due to known increases in supplies and training that we're going to see next year. Otherwise, expenditures and revenues completely in line with what we've had in previous years. No new positions being planned or added for next year.
It's pretty easy. Brandon, quick question.
Yeah.
Looking forward onto the capital improvement plan, it looks like for I think it's next year, 2020, well, not next year, 2027, the emergency notification system.
Yes.
Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, just briefly, we have a notification system that we currently use. We use it to notify internal partners, specialty teams, internal notifications, things like that. We're potentially looking at an upgrade for that. The software is well past end of life. It's antiquated. We're going to be taking a look in that time frame at something a little more modern.
Got it. And for now, the technology is working.
Yep.
It's just on its way out.
Yeah, and we're paid up through, our current system's paid up through late 2026, so that's the correct time frame for that.
Got it. Thank you. Commissioner Howard.
Hey, how are you doing today? Just in your supplemental sheet, one of your concerns was expressed on potential loss of funding. Is that reflected in this year's budget, or is that broadcasting to potential 2027 loss of funding?
It's a concern to be cognizant of. We've seen no loss of funding or no potential loss of funding at this point, but there are discussions about changes in all federal grant programs, as everyone is aware. So it's something that we're mindful of. We've not seen any reductions in any of the grant programs that we're currently working on. We've not seen any potential reductions on any of the grant programs that we have on the horizon so far. It's just something that we're keeping tabs on.
Okay. And then just more so out of curiosity, I know you guys are just finishing that training with Clinton Township in regards to emergency management. Are there any other cities that are outstanding that you aren't currently in partnership like you are with Clinton Township?
No, we have every community in the county now, except for the city of Warren, is part of our emergency management program. They maintain a standalone emergency management program under the state's Emergency Management Act. They're in full compliance with the law in doing that, and we're great partners with their program.
Yeah.
That's really, it's well run. There's no issue there at all.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Goike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, again. I don't see the commands unit that we talked about a few months ago buying, and you ordered it to get built. I don't see the money. I figured that would be in capital outlay, or is that in last year's budget
It's
already?
last year's budget.
So it's already paid for?
Yep.
It's not coming?
Well, the purchase order is already issued.
So the money's already set aside? That's-
correct.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Romano.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Brian.
Commissioner?
How you doing?
Excellent, thank you. How are you?
Maybe. I'm going to go to conferences and training,
Sure.
where you jump from 2024 to, from 458 to $9,500 and stayed constant through 96, through 2026. And I'm looking back here, and you've got, looks like 7 people that would actually, well, not even 7. How many actually go to these conferences and training? You got 7 on your staff here that shows, plus the other clerical and managers. How many actually go to training from that jump from that amount from $400 to $9,000?
So I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see I see the 9,500 on here, and then in the previous years, I see 5,000,
Right.
4657,
9,500, that's what I'm
and
asking. What jumped
5182.
from 458 to 9,590 in 2025 and then stayed constant in 2026? How many people are going to conferences and training?
So we have multiple conferences that we attend.
We,
The emergency management staff,
which consists of?
which consists of the director, the deputy director, emergency management specialists, communications manager, and other staff that have requirements for attending conferences and training as part of their job.
There's no certification involved here, is there?
There's no certification. All of our emergency management staff does have a certification, the professional emergency management certification. They're required to attend one conference to maintain that designation. And we do use grant funding before we use general fund dollars in order to do that. So 9,500 has typically always been our budget for that line item. We often come in under because we're able to offset with grant funding.
What kind of grant funding do you get,
It's Homeland Security grant funding.
dollar-wise?
600,000 or so dollars.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. All right. Commissioner Howard, go ahead.
Just looking at the repairs and maintenance line item, for a lot of departments, it's relatively high. And for you guys, I just think it was shockingly low. Can you explain that, or just because you guys do a lot with software, a lot of technology, so would that be reflected in IT's budget for their repairs and maintenance?
Yes, generally the budgets for all of the software and IT items are reflected in the IT capital budget.
Okay,
So our repairs and maintenance is vehicle and fleet operations and repairs for equipment like radio caches and other equipment that we loan out.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. Brandon, I think one last question from me. On the supplemental spreadsheet, the third challenge you have listed there is the age of the communications infrastructure.
Yes.
Is that ours? Is that the county as a whole? Can you
So
describe? and
the
define
county
a little bit?
owns the communications infrastructure. It's 14 radio towers, all of the associated equipment that powers those towers. And that's what our 7,000 or so public safety radios operate on. That equipment is aging. The oldest of it went in over 20 years ago. We anticipate infrastructure repairs may be needed. We're not to the point where I have a definitive plan where I can say this is what we need. It's something we're being cognizant of.
That was going to be my next question, because I see it on your spreadsheet, but I don't see it on the capital plan moving forward, even out 4 or 5 years, that it may be a possibility. So that's good to know that it's something else to add to our list of potential things we need to fix. So thank you, Brandon. With that, we are good with these pages, Commissioners. So we'll jump to D8, 9, and 10.
All right, so that is the emergency management grant fund. The numbers based in that fund are for potential expenditures and revenues that we will recognize for grant programs that we manage in 2026, inclusive of the 2023 and 2024 Homeland Security Grant Program, 2023 and 2024 Operation Stone Garden, the Hazmat and Tech Rescue Sustainment Fund, and the School Safety Fund. That fund supports 12 positions, 6 full-time, 6 part-time. And that is inclusive of money that we as Macomb County receive to expend on eligible projects. And it is also inclusive of the money that we pass through to other jurisdictions in Southeast Michigan as part of our fiduciary responsibilities for Region 2.
Thank you, Brandon. Quick question on the list of all the goodies. The FEMA PA for 2025, is that from the flooding, the massive rains that we had, or is that something different?
The FEMA PA for
FEMA
2025.
PA for $818,271.
That was the money that was eventually used to purchase the mobile command vehicle.
Got it. Thank you. Chair Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Hey, Brandon. Personnel,
Yes.
it dropped down 50%, the actual dollar amount, but you haven't changed any personnel. How is that possible?
So we have, our grants are unique in that they have 3-year performance periods. And so they split across several budget years.
Okay.
So it's often possible that we extend the time frame in which we're charging to one particular grant because we get an extension and we had money available, or we move it forward to a different grant, or we've had a position vacancy, things of that nature. The staffing has been relatively consistent.
Okay.
Let's see.
So would one of those examples be like the HSGP 24/7 DHS 97.067 program, where it's 3.5 million this year, and then it drops to 900, then it goes back up? Is that what you're talking about when you're billing
Yes.
towards that? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then the other question I had, capital outlay, what are you looking for with that line item?
With,
It's $372,000.
I don't think that's mine. I did not submit a request for $372,000 that I'm aware of.
Vicky, we found $372,000.
You don't want it? You don't want it?
Oh, in the grant
Yeah,
fund.
we're on page D8 right now.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I'm looking at.
In the grant, so specifically, we budget those out based on, as we said, we reimburse and purchase on behalf of other jurisdictions as the regional fiduciary. And
Okay.
often for these years, we're projecting what those expenses are going to be, because sometimes at this point in our budget calendar year, they aren't decided. So we base those budgetary estimates on what we've expended in past years and what we know expenditures to potentially be.
Okay. Last question I got, just looking at your forecast for 2028, it's all zeros. Why is that?
Because we are not currently under contract for any grants at that point. The last grant that we're currently under contract for has a performance period sunset of May 31st, 2027. That doesn't mean that we aren't going to be receiving that funding. That means that it has not been released as part of any federal budgetary process at this point.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Chair. Commissioner Ha.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Brian. Under your contractual services, 2025 was 7.4, 2026 was 4.3. What'd you do to reduce that by 3 million?
So again, with each grant year, we and our partners do something a little bit different depending on federal mandates, what they're requiring, things of that nature. That expenditure was very likely reflective of the fact that we had what our priorities were for that particular grant year were higher in contracted services or reimbursements than in equipment, because all of our reimbursements to other jurisdictions are charged back to contracted services line items. So what you're probably seeing is a higher proportion of funding that was reimbursed back to one of our county or local jurisdiction partners, as opposed to a direct purchase that we made as the county.
So it's similar to the answer you gave Chairman Sabatini.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. Brandon, I see no other questions.
Okay.
You're all set. Thank you very much. Next, Commissioners, we will move on to the Sheriff's budget, C-57, 58, 59, and 60. That is not Sheriff Wickersham. That is
isn't.
under Sheriff Darga.
That's correct. I have a little bit more hair.
Just a little bit.
Oh, Liz,
I'm
you're
glad
in
we
trouble.
record these meetings. Under Sheriff, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair and board members. Thank you for the opportunity for me to present the sheriff budget for the upcoming fiscal year. as you know, our goal always remains clear: to protect and serve the citizens of Macomb County, as well as maintaining a safe and secure jail. The proposed budget reflects the priorities of maintaining this public safety, supporting our personnel, and of course, continuing to provide high levels of service for our community. Our request this year for the increase is a total of $145,600. This increase includes the training budget, jail expenses, and operating expenses. This increase is just to maintain the level that we had in 2025. Under new positions, we are also requesting a budget increase of $420,167 for a countywide crime suppression unit. The unit will target crime in Macomb County and assist other law enforcement agencies with their crime issues. It'll be a multi-jurisdictional task force, and many of the chiefs in some of the local departments have reached out to Sheriff Wickersham and are interested in joining that team. Our request is for one sergeant, sworn sergeant, and 2 deputies. And I just wanted to go over a few of our accomplishments with you. In-car cameras and body cameras purchased and are in use. Central Intake and Assessment Center was started. New tasers are in the process of being purchased. Increased hiring. We are currently only, and I think you remember the numbers from a few years ago, I think at one point we were 45 deputies short. So we are currently only 8 deputies short. The reinstitution of the pension has been a complete game changer for our department. We are now able to retain the employees that we have and recruit new ones. This is all because of the return of the defined benefit plan, and I thank you all for your vote of approval on that. It's made our job much easier. Lastly, just to highlight, and this is all on Angela, her hard work, 12-hour shifts were voted on and approved in the dispatch center. That started in February of this year. Not only has it created a better life-work balance for the dispatchers, but it's saved on overtime costs. Comparing overtime costs from last year to this year, there's been a cost savings of $315,000. And that's actually a 52% less overtime than last year. And just so you know, just most of our overtime was forced overtime. So these are, it's a great benefit for our dispatchers. They don't, you're not there for 8 hours and then all of a sudden, surprise, you get another 8 hours. So it's been a great benefit. Angela's done a great job. She was a catalyst in all of this, and we've tried for about 2 years. It took a while. They were pushing against it. They went with it. They're very happy. The goals, our goals for 26 is to continue the construction of the Central Intake and Assessment Center and achieve 100% staffing level.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner, I think Commissioner Van Sickle, were you on the list? No? Okay. Commissioner Zinner.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry. When you talked about this task force, which sounds wonderful to have with security and all, are these going to be officers or however you describe them that are already working or are available just for the task force?
They would be available just for they would be assigned to that task force. So 2 deputies and 1 sergeant. Completely assigned to that task force. They would be new positions.
And how many people do you expect to have on the task force then?
2 deputies and 1 sergeant. And then if other departments come on board, let's say East Point, Roseville, if the chief wants to send over one of their police officers, we would take them on the task force, and that would create the multi-jurisdictional task force.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Howard.
Just to follow up on that task force question, so if another jurisdiction adds a deputy to them, they're still responsible for all the liability of that person that they send over, correct? Or would that fall under us? in our insurance?
I can't really answer that. I would imagine there would be some liability on the county. That would be a better question for Corp Counsel.
Okay. I'm looking at conferences and training, and it looks like it's 370,000 in the budget, but then when I go to the supplemental, it's only like 30 grand. And so I'm just trying to see what the difference is in that.
I think that is possibly in the dispatch budget.
So on C57, there's conferences and training for 370, but then on a supplemental sheet that we were given, it only has about $30,000 worth of conferences and training. I'm just trying to, are there other supplemental sheets or?
Not that I know of. I don't. We would definitely need the 370,000. We have 595 employees, so.
It only asks you to do ones that require travel, so I think that's how you filled it out. That's why the amount. For all the ones that are around here, it's not right.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Okay, so as Vicky just explained, the 30,000 is for travel expenses. So if it's out of state, it would.
Right, if I may, so on your supplemental, if you're referring to the New Orleans, Muskegon, Ann Arbor ones, that question asks for training that require travel. So that's how I believe the sheriff's office answered it. They have many other trainings, as the undersheriff said. So sometimes when departments are filling this out, they don't list every single training that people are going to, and that one asks for travel, so that's gonna be some of your larger expensed ones.
Yeah, I see it. I was looking at the dispatch one. Yeah. The two last questions is the crime suppression unit. Is this on the capital outlay on this budget, but it's also on the capital outlay plan in the back of our budget, or am I misunderstanding that?
So, as I mentioned before, the capital outlay that is in the sheriff's budget is for their contracted areas that we supply vehicles for. They're collecting the revenue in this budget, so we now have the expense for those vehicles in here.
Got it.
The ones that are in the capital plan are for sheriff's office vehicles that are not part of a contract. And so those are staying in the capital plan and the use of the capital fund monies.
Okay, and so where it says the new dispatch consoles, is that reflected anywhere in the budget? It's not. It says like capital expenditures planned over the next 3 years, so not something. I understand that's not this year, but is
Yeah,
that
so-
reflected anywhere?
Sorry, I was answering to the sheriff's budget, not to the dispatch budget yet.
I
So,
apologize.
sorry, sure we can still answer it, but just so we're clear on what I was answering to.
Yeah. No. Thank you.
Commissioner, if
Thank
that
you.
makes sense.
That's great. I'm done. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Goike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Undersheriff, for being here. On township patrols for the amount of employees, it went up 8. So there's a total of 98 professionals, for the, for the sheriffs out there for the townships. Out of the 98, how many are the contracts where you're getting extra money from like Macomb Township, Washington Township, and Harrison? How many are just normal or not contract for the patrol in the townships?
If they're in the townships, they are contracted, so the townships each pay for the
I
deputies.
understand that.
Yeah.
But I'm asking for the numbers. How many are contracted out of the 98 and how many are not? Or is it all 98 contracted?
All 98 contracted, yeah.
So therefore, my Bruce, Armada, Richmond, and Ray Townships will still be underserved.
Correct. Well,
And I understand the
Unless
law,
they- yeah.
the sheriff only has to take care of the jail according to the state law, state constitution. But it's kind of an injustice to us people at the north end to not have any patrol cars.
right, but they are not contracting with us.
Yeah, I know
And-
they're not
And we
contracted.
do respond to emergency calls there.
It's very poor service, so it's like, I would like to, years ago, we didn't have to have special contracts for it. So now that's started. I just don't agree with the policy, and I just wanted to make that statement. Thank you.
Well, all of the other deputies are accounted for, whether it be circuit court, court cars. So we don't have extra deputies to put in those areas unless they're contracted.
Commissioner, you're all set?
Yep.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Haas?
I think Commissioner Goike's going to use that same argument on a multitude of things, but okay. Liz, on the crime suppression unit, you're looking to establish a completely new unit that could be supplemented by the surrounding communities to add resource to the unit to amplify its duties and responsibilities. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We'd be, with other patrol officers, with other police officers that would join the suppression unit, we would have more coverage, we would have more bodies, we would be able to, if we have, 30 warrants in the drawer, we can do a lot more with more bodies than just 2 deputies and a sergeant.
In numerous of the other departments, the police chief have written us indicating they would support the unit and contribute resources to the unit. I think that was last year, but they had done that.
Yes.
Right.
I think they're still reaching out to the sheriff. That would be a question for him. But there are many communities that are interested in joining the suppression unit. We've all got crime in our communities, so they would welcome that.
Well, in our discussion with a friend of the court, Brian had indicated he had previously had 2 sheriffs assigned to him that were handling civil warrants that have now been, he took them out of his budget, sent them back to the sheriff's department. Would that be considered 2 of the 3 that you're looking for?
No, I don't believe so.
Why not?
I think those were partially funded by FOC and partially funded by us. And I don't know the back and forth with how they were pulled out or where they went after that. I'm sorry. The sheriff might be able to answer that for you.
We'll have to get clarification on
Yes,
that.
sir.
And I just want to give you a little editorial. When we had that incident in Roseville with the individual smashing into the police cars, our police chief wanted me to personally thank you and the sheriff's department for the excellent service and cooperation that was performed. So I'm fulfilling his request.
Thank you. Thank you.
welcome.
We're very proud of the work that we do, and we're always willing to help the other communities.
He said it was phenomenal cooperation between the 2 agencies.
Yes.
So thank you.
Mitch is a great guy.
That's all I have, Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. Chair Sabatini?
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Liz. So just got a few questions. First is on just personnel. I know last year during the budget, we had a new probate court judge, and we had to do a budget amendment after the fact for that 1 additional deputy. I'm still showing 2 in your budget for probate court security. If you could just go back and look at where these numbers should be appropriately placed, because I can see there's a couple errors there, that would be great. And then just follow up with our staff just so we can get it right in the budget.
Yes.
And then the other question I have is really, it's probably 2 pieces, actually. The first is yours and the second will be for Vicki. But I'm just looking at our capital plan for the sheriff and for IT. So I know we've got about $5.2 million for security electronics for the existing jail towers. I know a lot of people start mixing the CIAC projects that we're doing and kind of putting the 2 together. So I know that project is still ongoing and we're still working through the details of it, but can you just talk about, like, in regards to the towers themselves, what we've been investing general fund dollars in specifically to improve that, separate than what we've been doing from the CIAC? Because sometimes we talk about that as one big pot, and really they're 2 separate items.
You're talking about the renovations within the towers?
Yep.
I believe we're utilizing that money that we have to create the new jail. And that money also has the renovations included in that.
Okay. What is the replacement of the sheriff's scheduler for $325,000?
Yes, so we have a scheduler system. It's a little outdated. It was created by IT, and unfortunately, only one person knows how to change that scheduler system. So it's very antiquated. We need a new scheduler system. One of the things that it can't do right now is schedule for 12-hour shifts. So Angela is doing that on the backside separately from our scheduler system. So it's, we're absolutely in need of a new scheduler system. We have to, with the amount of employees that we have, like I said, 595 employees, we need a system that we can rely on and that's not antiquated.
Okay.
And we're in the process right now of just demoing different scheduler systems to make sure they fit our needs.
Great. Vicki, quick question for you in regards to the capital outlay, specific to, I think Commissioner Howard asked this, but I know the 1.4 million is specifically for the vehicles part of the contracts.
Correct.
What about the repairs and maintenance to those vehicles? How are they billed back? Are they in this budget, or how do we know what that number is compared to what our repairs and maintenance number is? Is it all of one in that line item, basically?
It's not in that line item. It
Okay.
is in the repairs and maintenance
Okay.
line item for the sheriff's office and all in one category.
Okay,
We,
so are we, like last year, I'm just looking at, well, I should say this year's number is a little over 500,000. It's barely going up. So I would think our repair and maintenance costs would be going up a lot more if we've got more vehicles and more contracts and things are happening. So is that something that we're just saving money? How are we saving money there? Because it's just kind of interesting on that line specifically.
Do you have it in front of you? I left it at my sheet.
Because it's gone down for the last 4 years consistently.
That's your grants. Do you have your general fund? Sorry.
And I know we're still driving just as many vehicles around with just as many miles, so,
Buying better cars.
you know, give a plug here to GM or Ford or.
It's gone up a little bit over the years, and then the 600 from there. We can look at getting better figures on that. I don't have a good answer on the
Okay.
repairs and maintenance. We
Okay,
can
it
ask
just jumped out at me, and I'm
Wilson
just
and
looking
Troy.
at, as we're kind of like readjusting these budgets, and I would think it would be going up, but I'm not complaining that it's going down, just saying, so.
Right, yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Chair. Commissioner Howard.
Can you also just get back with us on the conferences and training? I totally understand you have a staff of 500 folks, but in the supplemental, I checked with our staff, we only received one. And so if we can just get some follow-up on that, just because I 100% agree. I totally know it's justified, but I'm new, so I need to know if we're appropriating $400,000 for conferences and trainings. I kind of want to be able to say, like, this is what it's going for. And so if you can just reach back to our staff to kind of let us know in general what that's for. Thank you. Thanks,
Thanks,
Chair.
Commissioner. Commissioner Goike.
Could it be that you're having the road commission fix cars now on a lot of stuff that the dealers
No,
don't? That's not
actually, we
'cause I know
hired,
there's-
hired 2 more mechanics. So we have a total of 3. Everything's done in-house. We had a shortage for a little bit, and we were sending it to road commission. But even if they're repaired at road commission, they still bill our department.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought, because I know they bill for contract services $200,000 per officer usually, and, you know, so that's what's paying for the cars and everything, so. Thank you, I'm done.
Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Liz, I've got a couple more questions for you. Mine are going to be on the expenditures by service section. The first one's going to be court building safety. Are those bodies? Is that hardware like cameras? What constitutes court building safety?
And that's under C-57?
That's on page C60. It's got the list of all the patrols for the townships and things like that. It's the second one down from the top.
So we've only added one court position. That was for probate. We're always adding blue coats. We don't call them blue coats anymore because they're dressed in black. And it does probably include some of the x-ray machines, the metal detectors, where we have to cover the cost of those if those go down and get them repaired.
Okay. I only ask because in 2025, our amended number is about 1.3 million, and then it goes down to 1.2, and it kind of stays at 1.2. So it almost seems like, a person, $130,000 salaried person was moved around or something, but I don't see any changes in the personnel. So if I just want to know if equipment was in that item as well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And then my second question is going to be that same page, the roving security. That in 2024 was at about 1.3 million. Our 2025 amended is 986,000. And then it jumps back up in 2026 to 1.4 million. And if I go back to the personnel page, the roving security jumped from 6 FTEs to 9 from 24 to 25. Is that because there's still vacancies in that section? Why there's the fluctuation from 1.3 in 24 to 986,000 in 2025?
Unfortunately, I can't answer that question. I will look that up for you, though.
Okay, thank you. Just the numbers weren't matching, so I just want to make sure we're all on
Right,
the same
right.
page. Okay. I don't see any more speakers on these pages, so we'll jump to D36 and D37. Liz, any highlights you want to add for these pages, or?
No, there's really been not too much change within the grants. The forfeiture ebbs and flows, depending on how much we spend out of it and how much we take in. So not a great amount of changes.
Okay. My one question, I guess, what would fall under supplies and services for there? Because, it dips, it goes up, comes back down. I guess what falls under that line item?
What's on this page? D36. They're talking about the grants, D36. Right here. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So in our budget for,
This is Julie Patterson, our fiscal analyst.
yes, hi.
Hi.
In our budget for 2025.
Can you do me a favor and speak into the mic, please?
Yes, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. That's okay.
So in our budget for 2025, we've included, there is a purchase order that's outstanding that's included in there for the Bearcat. That is included in that supplies.
Okay. Those are radios, right?
No, it's like a tank-like vehicle.
Commissioner's steering me wrong. Say that again?
It's a vehicle for our SWAT team.
Thank you. Commissioners, are there any other questions on these two pages?
It went up.
Now Commissioner Goike wants to drive the Bearcat.
It went up for 2025.
I do too.
It went up for
Commissioner
2025.
Haas.
so it's down
Thank you, Chair.
Our budget for next year.
Quickly, was under conferences and training, in 2024 was 105, in 2025 it jumps up to 505, and then back down to 110 in 2026. What extensive more training is required from 25 to 26? It's like 400 grand.
Yeah. Okay, so that, I would have to go back and look, to see what's included in that number. But some of these numbers for 2025 are just budgets, so it's like a, it's not necessarily like money that, it's not money that we've spent. So I'd have to go back and look at like the actual costs, but like our forfeiture funds, we have money sitting in there, so we have to allocate it within this budget somewhere. And then when it gets, you know, if it's gonna be used for something else, then it would get moved into that budget item, if that makes sense.
No.
Okay, so, I don't have a breakdown of like.
Okay, you can get back to us on
Okay,
that, would you
yeah.
please? And my favorite last question is vehicles. Is this all the vehicles that we're gonna require for the year are included in this budget?
Yes, we're gonna be in good shape with the 1.4 for the
Was that
contracted.
a yes?
That's a yes, I guarantee you. You know where my office is.
Maybe would be better. Maybe would be better.
That's all I have, Chair. She's even smiling.
We'll go to Commissioner Van Sickle on the first round.
Thank you. Staying with that, are there vehicles in there for the proposed crime suppression unit?
Yes, they're in, there's another line item. It says that's for the regular vehicles, the other patrol vehicles for the sheriff's office. So not the ones that are under the contracted areas. So that is, the vehicles are included in that line item.
In the contracted line item?
No,
Okay.
in the capital plan. Yes, the vehicles are included in that. So three vehicles.
And do you anticipate any other special equipment or special software to support the crime suppression?
You know, that's something, you know, we do this quite a bit for, you know, outfitting deputies. That is money that we can find within our budget. That's not something that we're going to ask for. It's very minimal when you have an undercover team compared to a, you know, a deputy in full uniform. So it's less than what it would be for a deputy that's sworn and on the road. So we can cover those costs.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. Chair Sabatini.
Yeah, Liz, maybe I just missed this, but on page G37, the secondary road patrol, I don't know if this is what Commissioner Van Sickle was asking about, that it goes down by 2 FTEs, and then it goes back up.
Yeah, that is our, I believe that's our grant. It's our 416 grant.
416 grant. The funds were reduced for next year, so we had to get rid of 2 deputies, move them somewhere else.
Where were they moved to?
Back to our regular road patrol budget.
I didn't see those increase. Would that be on the previous page, the C58? '58, '59, actually 59, because that stayed the same.
You're asking what we would do with those deputies?
Well, if they were moved to road patrol in your general fund budget, that FTE would have increased by 2, and it's still 72.
You guys, you filled vacant positions, so no, your count would, you're right. Right.
Yes.
Count would not go up because they filled 2 vacant positions.
They filled 2 vacant positions in the general?
General, in the general, yes.
Okay, so those were funded in the general. These are not going to be funded for '26. So then we would have had a surplus in are we going to have a surplus this year?
In labor,
Yes, so are they going to be moved in '26, or are they going to be moved this year?
Physically.
they were moved October, because the grant year starts October to
October.
September 30th.
Got
right?
it. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Chair. Liz, I've got one more question.
Okay, I hope I
For-
can answer it.
On page D36 with the page with the grants, there is a transfer in from the general fund for 2026 at $474,000. And there has been some sort of contribution from the general fund over the years. Is that a requirement? See Dave nodding his head in the back. I figured it must be because we're pretty consistent on what we contribute. So I'm guessing that's maybe some sort of match or requirement by state statute or something like that. And just wanted to be sure.
Is it, yeah, is it for like Matt's? Matt's, yeah, Matt's grant,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
All right. Now, seeing no other speakers or questions, we are
I-
all set.
Actually, I have a comment on the training.
Sure.
We did get additional funds last year, for a grant for CPE training. That was a lot of money, so that was a big chunk of that additional funding in there, which is specifically for training.
Got it.
It's a grant from MCOLS.
Okay, great. Thank you. All
Okay.
right, thank you both.
Thank you.
Next, we will move on to item D, E911 Sheriff Dispatch. Commissioners, pages D38 and 39, we have Director Angela Elsey here. Director, go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon. As you're aware, the E911 Fund provides services to local communities through the collection and distribution of state and local E911 revenue, as well as providing dispatch services to both the county and local municipalities. And these services are funded by general fund dollars and service contract revenue from these communities that contract with us for full-time dispatch services. Our total projected revenue for 2026, including transfers in, is $13,580,600. This amount represents the combined state and local surcharge collections, service contracts, reimbursements from participating communities for shared software and maintenance costs, and other financing sources, as well as general fund transfers for the sheriff's budgeted positions. We are requesting one additional position, a full-time dispatch supervisor. This role would be partially funded by repurposing an existing vacant part-time position, allowing us to enhance supervisory coverage and operational support without a full increase in staffing costs. Our maintenance agreement budget shows a modest increase in comparison to last year or prior years. This rise primarily reflects the annual cost of maintaining our critical software and hardware systems, including those that support our operations on the floor and administrative functions. Some key components of that include ongoing support for our various software applications, most notably the Atos 911 call handling solution, which you've all heard me talk about for 3 years now, as well as the maintenance for servers, workstations, and other hardware equipment too. It does encompass some network infrastructure maintenance as well. So while that Atos call handling system does represent the significant increase, it's important to note that a large share of that cost is also offset by reimbursements from Shelby and Warren, who have been great partners in this project, and that's reflected in our revenue line item for reimbursements. You may have also noticed on the supplemental worksheet that I submitted, there is a capital project planned for a dispatch center renovation and council project, which Commissioner Howard, I think you had commented on. This will be a very large-scale project that will reconfigure the layout of our dispatch center to better maximize the available square footage to us and accommodate all of our operational needs. And we're really looking forward to working closely with facilities and operations on this project as well. I know Ben has listed it on the capital project plan. I do not have an estimated cost listed on the capital project plan with that because we are in the very early discussions in reference to the renovation. However, we do have a healthy fund balance and there will be no general fund allocation requested for the project. So in summary, the proposed 2026 budget, I think, demonstrates our continued commitment to delivering efficient, reliable 911 services in this county. And I think I've highlighted the key areas of investment and revenue, but I will help answer any questions that you might have.
Angela, thank you. Commissioner Lucido.
Thank you, Chair.
I guess my question is why are we increasing our transfer in from the general fund by almost $500,000 if your net increase in your fund balance is $1.7 million?
So the transfer in from the general fund represents the sheriff's office contribution to our Tyler Technologies contract. That is a very large contract that we fund out of the E911 budget, out of our dispatch and cellular fee fund. However, the sheriff's office contributes a substantial amount of money to that contract because we are not able to spend E911 money on some of the licenses that are a part of that contract. So the increase is personnel because it includes the 19 positions that the sheriff's office is budgeted for through the general fund, as well as the Tyler Technologies contract contribution.
Okay, and then my next question, under repairs and maintenance, I've noticed from like 2023 until like 2026 that it's like almost tripled. And is there a reason why that the repairs and maintenance has gone up so much? Because I know we've invested a lot of money in new technology, and you guys have, I should say, you've invested a lot of money in new technology over there with the E911 funding. So the repairs and maintenance line item seems a little high.
So this is that increase that I referenced is in relation to our new phone system, as well as all of the other increases in all software and hardware that we have. But there's also an increase in revenue for the reimbursements from other communities because the phone system that we have has a very, very large maintenance agreement every year, but we maintain that contract for 3 communities. And so the other 2 communities, being Warren and Shelby, offset part of that maintenance by a contribution to us through reimbursement.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Howard.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Thanks for answering that other question. What is an infrastructure solution specialist?
That is our fancy word for IT support, right? So we fund a full-time IT position, and that position does everything from break fix to maintaining our servers, working with our vendors, incredibly busy, and supports all of the critical infrastructure within our dispatch center.
This might be a Vicky question. So why isn't that in the IT's budget? Because the IT specialists that we're talking about bringing on for the clerk and for the prosecutor are in IT's budget, but this IT specialist is in the sheriff's budget? I mean, the dispatch
We fund it. So that's the only difference. Is so they are an IT employee, but we came in with a funding source and said we have E911 funds, and so there's no general fund allocation that pays for that. So that's why it's out of my budget.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's kind of what CMH does with Corp Counsel. CMH funded a counselor, and they're housed in their office, but CMH pays for it. So similar to that.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. Chair Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Angela.
Hi.
Couple questions. So, first question is the capital outlay that you were talking about earlier. So right now you've got $16,000 basically budgeted. I believe, and I'll stand corrected, that nothing related to your budget is in the actual capital plan. So what you're talking about specifically related to what you are looking for, but you don't have any concrete numbers, do you have any type of estimates based on what your need will be? Because right now we've got $16,000 budgeted for you, so.
Two-part question, or two-part response to that, I guess I should say. $16,000 is on average about what we spend in a year for capital, mostly furniture. Right? Our chairs are sat in 365 days, 24 hours a day. They break. We're buying a lot of new chairs, a lot, right? So that's not a part of the capital because we have the funding for it. So that's the difference. We're keeping that capital expense within the E911 fund rather than in the capital plan with the general
We've
fund.
changed that. So actually, the 16 is actually in your budget. There's nothing in the capital plan related to your budget. It should be all in your budget.
Correct.
So right now, you only got $16,000. That's why I'm asking what you need.
I
And
don't
we
know.
need the
I
budget
will be
for it.
coming to you with a budget amendment when that assessment is.
Okay, so
is
my
ready.
suggestion would be to get us some type of an idea what that number should be so
Yep.
that we can put it in the budget, rather than you coming to us at a later date with a huge number and
Sure.
shocking us, just so we've got an idea.
So I believe Ben has done that, as listed under the capital plan for facilities and operations. There was, I think he may have estimated around 1.6 million or 1.3 under facilities for the dispatch
I
renovations.
don't see it.
Okay.
If
No,
I'm
that's
missing
fair.
it, I stand corrected, but I don't see it in the capital plan at all.
Okay.
So, next question is kind of follow-up to what Commissioner Lucido was talking about related, you want to answer the question, Vicky?
Sure.
For-
It is in the capital plan listed under Comtech.
Under Comtech, okay.
That's right. Because
You're getting tricky with us.
Ben's get listed a lot of times by the building name.
There it is. Okay, so if that's specific to this department, are we going to list the E91s like separate within the capital plan, Vicky? Or are we going to keep it this, because I thought we were doing all special revenue, everything was going to stay in here.
So when I talked about sometimes making mistakes. As part of.
Because
the
it's like you're
process-
nodding over there as I asked the
as part
question,
of
you're
the-
like, yeah,
the-
you're correct.
The
So-
process,
Okay,
right.
no
I
worries.
will say in some of our philosophy and changing, I will say my thought process, right? Because we did talk about if there's a grant, keeping
Yep.
it in with the grant. So that's why, yes, her furniture for her chairs is in there.
Okay.
I'm gonna say with Comtech, being it was a larger project and a building renovation project, that's why it wound up on the capital plan.
Got it.
But
Okay,
you're correct, my statements before were about keeping them separate, but I made a mistake.
no worries, no worries. Okay, so next question I have is follow-up to what Commissioner Lucido was talking about regarding the transfers in. So the position that you're asking for the dispatch position, it's actually $115,600, half of an FTE. It's actually not requiring any general fund impact at all. So it's
Correct.
coming directly out of your budget. So specifically then, why are we transferring an additional $500,000 into your budget from general fund?
That is not included, that position, or the balance of that full-time position is not included as part of the transfer in.
Okay, I thought you said it was. That's why I was asking. So
Oh,
it's kind
no, I apologize. That is for the salaried positions the sheriff already pays for.
Okay.
And any salaried increases that, the only change I made to that number at all, other than the finance recommended, which initially includes the contractual raises,
Okay.
is the contribution for the sheriff's office Tyler contract,
Okay.
which is approximately $350,000.
So,
I can get you the exact number if
so
you'd like.
that's the increase year over year with that contract, or is that the total?
That would be the total that the sheriff's office would
Their portion?
contribute, correct?
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Chair. Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
If I understood you properly, you have the IT person because you have a lot of specialized software, and they help with that all over the place. You said they're very busy. Is there a contingency plan if that person is not able to do their job?
Yes, and that is why the arrangement with IT was done to make sure that they are a county IT employee. So that way they are trained the same as the other infrastructure network specialists. They can support each other, back one another up.
Well, I'm
help
not
one
only
another out.
interested in your person being trained as the other IT people,
Sure.
but are there other IT people that are trained to pick up if your person can't perform?
Well, we
They
don't.
leave the company, they leave the county employee or something.
Sure, I think our IT department would be very capable to put someone else in there and, I mean, maintain the servers. And, you know, there would be a knowledge-based type of training that we would have to make sure that person understood the end user functionality of what it is that they're supporting. But that back-end systems, I have no doubt that they would all have a similar knowledge base because they're all
But
working
is there
on the
any
same.
specific cross-training that happens?
Not that I'm aware of, but because they're an IT employee, I can't answer that for you. It would probably be a better question for Jaco.
I will follow up with
Sure.
him about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. I see no other speakers or questions. Angela, you're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we get to the prosecutor, Vicky has an answer to a previous question.
Yes, hello again. Chair Sabatini, I'm going back to page C57 and your question about the vehicle maintenance. I'll let you get there, so. So there's the repairs and maintenance line item, and then right underneath that is the vehicle operations line item. So the repairs and maintenance is really for other repairs and maintenance in the sheriff's office. So the vehicles is all within that vehicle operations. So you do see slight increases over the years to correspond with that. So is that good? You're welcome.
Thanks, Vicky. All right, now it's time for Todd and Joe and team. Commissioners, we are on budget pages C50 and 51. Todd and Joe, take it away.
Good afternoon. My name is Todd Schmitz. I'm Chief of Operations in the Prosecutor's Office. And today we'll do it a little bit differently than we've done before, just to try to make it quicker for you. So after we start off, we'll jump right into the amendments. We'll answer some anticipated questions based on what we've seen you ask other departments, and of course, take your questions and answers as we go. We're joined today by our department head, who's Macomb County Prosecutor Peter J. Lucido. Prosecutor Lucido is the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the county. We are also joined today by our unit chiefs, and our unit chiefs are here out of respect for you and the people you represent, to show that we take this process seriously, and also so that we can try to get you answers today if you have questions, so that you and the people you represent can get those answers. Of course, if we can't answer a question today, we'll do like we always do and get to the answer tomorrow. The Prosecuting Attorney's Office covers many areas, including district court, circuit court, court of appeals, all of these matters, juvenile matters. Some people are not aware that the Prosecutor's Office also handles paternity matters, child support matters, and we do a variety of other things. It's a wide-ranging office. We want to start by thanking you for the support you've given us in the past, and for the newer commissioners. The office has come a long way from the turbulent times in the past. In the past, you gave us resources to acknowledge changing prosecution trends. We've done things like been able to staff specialty courts, and that's a challenge, because the specialty court grants and the memorandums of understanding, they don't include funding for the prosecutor. They include the defender and the courts, but we're still able to find a way to do that. We also had a need to respond to increased resources given to public defenders that has improved the process overall, but has put a greater demand on our office. We have to attend more hearings, answer more motions, spend more time per case. And there were basic infrastructure needs that you helped with. Things like just basics in the building, but also enabling us to move people who are in the same unit next to each other. And an item that you'll hear about today to make it so that we can more productively handle the child support and paternity operations in a safe and secure environment. There was a need to address the tsunami of digital evidence, and the Sheriff's Office was a real leader in this area with body cams. But of course, that resulted in a lot of evidence that needs to be processed. And we basically were using old technology to try to prosecute modern cases. All of this culminated, I mentioned turbulent times. The bottom line was that this boiled down to a need for resources and a change in culture. And so thank you, because Macomb County has traditionally been one of the safest places to live, work, and raise a family. And because of what you've given us, you're helping the team that you see here keep Macomb County that way. Now we'll jump right into the amendments. We'll follow your format from the agenda. So we're now speaking on item 6E, pages C50 and C51. Our overall ask, counting everything today, is $294,250. That represents a 1.62% increase over the recommended budget, which is $18.1 million. We'll now just jump through and let you know what those amendments are. But we want to focus on the executive, on the criteria that our county executive laid out in his presentation, which we think are good criteria. Is it balanced? Is it sustainable? And does it support operational efficiency? And so I'll turn it over to Joe for the next few here.
Thank you, Todd.
So on the first item here that we want to discuss, Commissioners, is our same amendment request we asked a year ago during this budget process presentation. And as you can see in this slide, we have two examples where 2 years ago, the board, after we asked for an amendment to upgrade one of our principal trial lawyer positions to Chief of District and Specialty Courts, the board did it. Last year when we asked for this, it did not turn out the way that we asked. It was done in a different manner. We tried to resolve it with the assistance of Chair Sabatini over the summer. We're here to fix it. I think the way forward is to adopt this amendment as presented. We're making a recommendation based on the operations that this position should be removed and one added. And so I'm going to move on to the next one. This is related to something we briefed this board repeatedly going back to 2022. I have 9 resolutions that this board has passed. 2 of the resolutions specifically dealing with this issue has a statement effectively saying that, you know, this needs to be done for the prosecutor's office. You guys are certainly familiar with the language of those resolutions. We're asking for the $42,500 of previous years to be up to $50,000 because this is so important. We want to be able, through the amended contract routing ordinance where the threshold to come before you is $50,000, these contracts should be coming before you. And so for that reason, we're asking for $50,000 for our legal services line item to be restored, which was not included in the recommended budget. Contract services for $25,000. We asked for this last year. You guys have been tremendous providing us resources, including a communications person. Prosecutor Lucido has been out in the community engagement, the scams, over 200 plus events. The line I want to basically mention here on this item is that all the major departments have line items for marketing, except for the prosecutor's office. I'm familiar with some of the departments, and just a sampling, for example, the clerk's office, they spent a $24,000 on marketing and contract services from the general fund for their public relations firm. They got that earlier this year. Obviously, they had the funding in place previously, and so we're asking once again for this money to be included so that, you know, you give us a great communications person. It's like having a great race car driver without the race car, and so we need some money just to have at least something to drive. And so we're asking for a $25,000 investment so we can come back in a year to show you what we've done with it. This is a restoration, really, of what we want to do in terms of being able to pursue what we want to pursue. And so there was a beautiful quote, I believe, from Commissioner Romano, where he saw the value in this. And I think you all see the value of it, all right? Anybody who, I think you all haven't been involved in business understand it's great to have marketing people, but what can you do without a budget? And so this is what that's about. Next one is community promotions. You know, we're involved in all kinds of events around the county to make sure the public know that we're there, to explain what we're doing, let them know what our services are. This past year, between all the table booths, it was $3,000. And so we're just asking for this money to be included in next year's budget so we can continue to participate in local community events. This is for supplies and services. Here you go, Todd.
So on that one, we're not yet losing cases to artificial intelligence, but we soon may lose cases to attorneys who use artificial intelligence. And so our ask here for the books, you'll see one of them is $20,000 for an upgrade to our Thomson Reuters Westlaw Co-Counsel Legal Services. That's a tool that will let us start to take advantage of these AI tools, from responding to motions, doing legal research. It's a much more efficient way. We also did have an initial and brief conversation with our public defender, whose contract was just renewed. We are open, and she is open. There's been no agreement yet, but we are both open this year to working together to try to come before you with perhaps a joint request that might get us a lower cost and better service. Again, that has not been agreed to, but we had an initial positive conversation where we might do that. What we're asking for here is to help us increase our service so that when we come back to you next year, you'll be able to evaluate what the defender has, what we have. We will be able to put together a program that gets the best research balanced for everybody. The rest of it is pretty self-explanatory in the sheet you have as far as law books. It includes online books, but some people prefer to have books. And so you'll see some of them are asking for 3 copies of certain books, 5 copies of other books, just so people can have the hard copy. We're also asking for 4 bulletproof vests for 4 of our investigators who go to serve subpoenas, sometimes in dangerous or high crime areas. They all carry guns. This is just basic protection we are seeking. Transcripts. The state statute regulates how much transcripts cost. That has doubled this last year. We need transcripts for appeals and for circuit court matters. So this is asking just to comply with something we need because state law raised the price on us. The next one we're asking for is increase in supplies and services. This is a great service that our victim rights unit does. If victims don't show up to court, the case can be dismissed. We have a service that we provide where we schedule an Uber ride for victims. It picks them up at their door, takes them to court. Out of the people who have done the Uber rides, their cases were not dismissed those days they came to court. We have victims who said they've suffered injuries because they've been attacked and the injuries prevent them from driving. This helps them. In the past, we sometimes sent a police car out to get a victim and bring them back. But not everybody's excited about having a police car show up at their door and having their neighbors see that they're going out for various reasons. So this has been a tremendous program. The Crime Victims' Rights Grant covers some transportation, but the Crime Victims' Rights Grant does not cover subpoenaed witness. So with our grant, we can pay for the mother to join a child who was sexually abused in court. But we can't pay for the child or the witnesses that we're actually subpoenaing. And that's why we've used the general fund for this service for the Uber rides. So that's what we're asking for on this one. The next one is training. And we're asking for $45,000 to increase training. The reason is we want to, on average, be able to train half of our assistant prosecutors every other year. So right now, we're about able to do it on average every 3 years. We want to increase that to be able to do it every 2 years. And as an example, some of the conferences that we've been able to go to this year, you'll see on your screen, forensic interviewing, elder justice, cybercrime investigations, trial advocacy. Those are some of the things we've done with the resources you've given us. I know Commissioner Howard has asked before, okay, why the increase? And if you're trying to run it like a business and be efficient, what would you use the money for if you had it? These are ones that I've had to deny this year. So APAs have asked for conferences and we've had to say no. So homicide conference, domestic violence trial advocacy, I had to say no to an APA for the auto theft. So if you give us these resources, these are the kind of things that we will be able to have more people do. In addition, we're also asking for funding to do an annual event in Washington Township where it's an all APA event where we do training and bring in a trainer and focus just on that once a year. The next amendment we're asking for is contractual services for interns. Many people don't realize that when we have law student interns that come from the various law schools, they're allowed to actually handle some of our docket. They can help the courts move hearings along. They can handle motions. They can even handle trials as long as it's under the supervision of an assistant prosecutor and as long as they're trained. The State Prosecutors Association has a 1-week-long boot camp that they train every new APA. Last year, thanks to you, we were able to send 10 of our interns to that week-long boot camp. Now, the interns are unpaid. They don't get paid for their summertime being with us, but we sent them to that training. They came back knowing what a preliminary exam was, knowing some of the basics of how to do motions so that we could get them into the courtroom sooner, helping resolve cases for your constituents. We're asking for $10,000. It's $1,000 per intern would be the cost, where we contract with the State Prosecutors Association to send them to this boot camp. And also, this line includes an increase of about $1,800 per year for our grant writer, who is also with us today. He's brought in several $1 million for the county at a cost of approximately $36,000, $37,000. The next one is contract services. Joe?
Thank you, Todd. So regarding this item, it's for a Veterans Crime Prevention Outreach Coordinator contract. Let me jump to this next slide. Apologize, there we go. Okay. So this is to fund a professional services contract primarily focused on ensuring that at-risk veterans are informed about Veterans Treatment Court before criminal involvement. And the idea here is to potentially reduce recidivism and promote successful integration if this service is needed. And that's part of the program that we would like to do with this $25,000 amendment. Next one is Todd.
Another amendment is a best practices audit. So thanks to you, we have a case management system. It's a modern digital system that's used in many states throughout the country. It has a lot that it can do. This December, for a week, 2 people from Carpel are coming out and looking at how we do everything in our systems. Are we using the facilities that are there? Are we being as transparent as we can be? Does their system need to change to match what we want to do? We want to do this annually. We think we would be the only prosecutor in the state doing it, but you can see the return on this if you have people coming in to show us, instead of doing A, B, C, D, why don't you do A, D? It's a lot more efficient and a lot better that we can get trained, especially as we promote people and use our system. The other one, there was a quote that Commissioner Hall gave in one of the presentations last week, which applies to this one. And he said, just because things have always been done a certain way doesn't mean they always are going to be done that way. And we're hoping that you take that approach with this one. We're asking for $10,000 for a training overlap pool. The last couple of assistant prosecutors who have departed our office for higher pay or one of them becoming a judge, they gave us 4 weeks notice or more than 4 weeks notice. So we would have had time to bring in a new person for 2 weeks, have them go through the cases, introduce the victim, have them meet the witnesses, have them get familiar. But under the current situation, there's no training overlap. There's no double bunking because that's just not the way we've ever done it in the county. We're asking essentially for a placeholder. The reason that number is so low is because what we would like to do is, if you get us this and we can show as a pilot program whether it's worthwhile or not, what we would expect to do is pay for this training overlap with the funding that becomes available through vacancies and attrition. So we just need the placeholder in the budget for it with this amount of money. And as positions turn over or become unfilled, we would use that salary money to cover, so that in the occasion where we do get more than 2 weeks notice and we are able to find somebody and bring them in and overlap, we can take advantage of it. We won't be able to do that every time. Our ask is only for the professional staff, assistant prosecutors, victim advocates, and investigators. So not yet, we're not asking for clerical staff, but that's the reason for the ask here, so that we can make the transition better. Overall then, for this section, and including the grant section, that's our asks. And before we get to the grant, it's 1%. Just so you know how this fits into the context of everything. Last year, our budget was 17.5 million. This year, the recommendation is 18.1. The recommended budget would increase our budget before our ask of $628,000. What is in the increase that's in the recommended budget already for us? The increase is $372,000 of internal services. We don't have control over that, but you're familiar with what that is. And also an increase of $254,000 in personnel. Again, that's not our control. Our ask is $294,000, which is less than what the internal services increase for our office would be. That's some context for it. For the FTEs, we're asking for no new people. You can see just a little arrangement of what the FTEs are, but in our general fund, it's 100.5 FTEs, 108 bodies, and that doesn't change. Do we work from home? I know you've asked that before. The answer is no, with the exception of one person who is a nationally recognized conviction integrity unit chief. She works out of Chicago. Even the IT staff, we have one already who's in the IT department but works in our office. He works in the office. He does not work from home. We are consistently fully staffed. I've seen in prior weeks, you've asked how many vacancies are there. In our office, as of yesterday, we have 3 vacant APA 1 positions. The interviews are already scheduled. We have 2 vacant support staff positions, but offers are out pending to them. We fill our vacancies quickly. We don't let them sit. And there's a phrase we use in our office: talented people like working with talented people. And that's why we try to fill these as quickly as we can. What about turnover? We have 143 FTEs. This year, we had 13.5 FTEs voluntarily leave. They became judges, which started at the first of the year. So others took jobs with higher pay. Others have retired. The national average for law firms is a turnover of 20%. And under Prosecutor Lucido's office, we are at half the national average of turnover. Another metric that you can look at when you're comparing personnel costs, because I've seen in past weeks, you've looked and compared the personnel before and after. One, of course, is the bottom line dollar amount. How much does that cost? Another way, if you're comparing departments, is percentage. And if you look at departments who have received a percentage increase in personnel, since 2023, the prosecutor's office is 24th out of the 28 departments listed on page C9 of your budget book. And that's as a percentage as opposed to bottom line overall cost. If you look at a broader range, and if you just go back since 2020, if you look at page C9 of an earlier book of 2023, if you compare since 2020, all of the departments that have received increases in personnel cost, we're about in the middle. So there are several other departments who have received more. There's several other departments who have received less. Forfeitures is next, but before we get to that, did you want us to? Okay.
Yep, thanks, Todd. We'll start with those 2 pages and then we'll move on from there. So commissioners, if you have any questions or comments on pages C50 or 51 or any of the amendments that were discussed, we'll start taking those now. We'll start with Commissioner Hoff.
Thank you, Chair. First, let me congratulate the prosecutor. I think this is the lowest percentage increase in any budget that I've seen since I've been here, maybe even going back further than that. I was kind of interested, Todd, in your statement about interns are unpaid.
Yes.
Is that by law?
No, it's
that our
by
choice?
economic necessity. So we asked in our budget request to be able to pay the interns. And there's many prosecutors' offices in the state do this and contract through the Prosecuting Attorneys Association. For our 10 interns, that cost would have been $100,000. And so in our ask, we asked for $110,000 for a summer law intern program. And that was for the training and to pay them. Neither one of those made the cut between our asking for the recommendation and then the recommendation coming here. And we met and we had the advantage of meeting with you and the chairman and the chair of our committee. And one of the things that was very clear was how hard you're fighting for taxpayers to keep the bottom line low. And it was made clear to us to do what we can to trim it. And so we took that to heart and we think that we can make it work again with only the training money. We would certainly welcome being able to pay the interns over the summer, but we heard what you said, and that's why we've cut that ask from 110 to 10.
In looking at your very first item, excuse me, it was -1 office manager plus 1 chief OC, and the differential is 17,300. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
That includes benefits.
That includes benefits. Lastly, that quote you attributed to me, that really came from our chairman, so I'm just stealing it.
Okay.
So thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Chair Sabatini.
Thank you. Todd, just a couple quick questions. So I know one of your slides was in regards to your chief, is it conviction? I don't know the exact terminology, but that is off-site. I know that
Yes.
individual was brought in a couple years ago, just to introduce themselves. So,
She's here too.
oh, she is here. Hi. Well, actually, I'll ask the question to her then, because the question is specific to her.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So I know you being in Chicago, is that
Yes.
correct? So can you tell me just a little bit about like how many cases do you handle like on an annual basis for the prosecutor being remote and not being here? And I know we've had this dialogue amongst commissioners about remote workers and people that are physically here. I know you're the only one in the prosecutor's office that is actually remote. So how many cases do you deal with on an annual basis for the prosecutor?
I'll give you the statistics,
Okay, even better.
just so you know kind of from start to finish where we're at. So we have 2 sides to the CIU. We have the grant side, post-conviction DNA grant, part of the unit, and then we have my side, which is the non-grant. And I do obviously non-DNA cases.
Okay.
So the unit opened in April of 2022. Since then, we have looked at and had essentially 179 contacts with the unit through people that are basically inmates. And since then, we've closed 121 cases, which is a substantial amount. Currently, we have 46 cases open between the non-DNA and the DNA side. There are 24 cases under review by the post-conviction DNA grant side. Now, keep in mind, they are staffed right now with 2 attorneys and 1 investigator. On my side, which is the non-DNA side, I have 21 cases open, and it's just me.
Okay.
In addition to which, I administer the grant. And as I think Joe or Todd alluded to, we are pushing forcibly to get an AI program into our unit, which may be, we think, the first of its kind in the country. It'll help us immensely if we can get it going. If the government reopens it, we might know more. So that's kind of where we're at. So right now on my docket, I have 21 cases, and I work them as efficiently as I can. The DNA side has 24 open cases, and we get cases as they come in, and we, try to figure out between the 2 sides how to handle them.
Now, how are those cases handled? Like, are those, do they go to trial? Do they go to court? Like, are they just facilitated by you over a amount of time? Like, I don't understand how it works.
Okay, so basically what happens is there's an application process. The application's online. We also send throughout the Michigan Department of Corrections an application to every single inmate in the Michigan Department of Corrections. 33,000 people got it. The Macomb County inmate population is between 1,300 to 1,400 people. So it was targeted really at them, but it was throughout the whole system. From that, or they can contact the website, they write us and say, can you send us an application? At the end of the day, we get an application where somebody says, I'm innocent of X, Y, and Z crime. We ask them in the application, why are you innocent? What's your claim about? And then we go from there. Sometimes we'll send a letter back and say, we're not sure what you're saying. Can you please fill it out? Long story short, at the time the application comes in, I send almost all applications through the DNA side to see if there's any evidence that should be looked at that was not previously looked at, because the DNA technology has changed so much over the years. So there's usually a filtering process through the DNA side. If they kick it out and say, for instance, if it's a drug case and it's just a simple buy or something like that, but it raises to the level of a felony, it's typically not going to be a DNA case. That's going to get kicked over to my side. Or I'm going to get cases, the cases I tend to get, because they're very fact-based, they're huge. They're huge. I mean, they're tens of thousands of pages, which is why AI is so important. But both sides work the files the same way. The application comes in, we gather the data, and that's transcripts, court files, ME files, medical records, it's literally thousands of pages, and then we go through it. And we make a decision as to whether or not there's enough to go forward in terms of a recommendation for relief, which the prosecutor ultimately makes. We've had 1 exoneration in 2023. This year, we were very close to a relief in a different type of a case, but it just stalled out. And we have closed out on the DNA side 79 cases, and they're big, they're huge. They take months. I have cases that I've looked at for 2.5 years because, you do it and then I get distracted and then I go back to it. But they take a long time because there's a lot of material and there's a lot at stake. I mean, theoretically, you're overturning a jury verdict. If you're going to do that, you better know what you have so that when I go to Prosecutor Lucido and I say, look, I think there's something here that we really need to look at, he's confident that we have done the job that we need to do so that he has all the information he needs to make a decision. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you for explaining that. I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Next question I have is, Todd, just in regards to your capital requests. So I know we've got a lot of technology-related items here. So can you just talk about all these integrations?
Yes.
Since we're still talking about your general budget before we get into
Yep,
special
and
revenue. Is that okay, Chair?
I'm gonna flip ahead
Okay.
to it since you asked. There's a couple of different things that we have in the capital. One of them is for a thing called Axon Justice. And what this is again, to use artificial intelligence in the processing of our digital evidence. We have hours and hours of digital evidence. We have over 1 million items now in our digital evidence system. This stuff is coming in at a very large rate. So what this tool will let us do is, for example, it'll automatically tag in the spot in the video where Miranda rights are given, so we can double check to make sure that that is good. It does other things as far as identifying certain witnesses and witness statements and letting us search across various videos for different witness statements. That is a cost of $30,000 migration fee that's put in the recommended budget. It's IT and us agree that we need it. In addition, there was another question, and I think it was Commissioner Kraft who was asking our IT director, why is the maintenance budget always seem to be higher instead of lower? A small part of that is this request. And so what we've asked for in the maintenance budget is a change. The details are on the slide in your materials. But for 1 year, the final year of our contract, it would go from 86 to 160. The overall contract was $450,000. The nice thing and the innovative way that the IT department has negotiated this for us is because this would allow us to use this tool for the remaining year, 12, 13 months of the contract, so that as this year we decide whether to do an RFP to bid a new one or to continue with the same vendor and come back with you, we'll actually have real world data. We will actually be able to use this tool. So if we come back and ask you for a renewal, we'll be able to tell you, here's why we've used the tool. And so that's an innovative part. That's the first thing on the capital project list. In addition, on the capital projects list is an integration with Clemis. Clemis is a system that's used by the Police Department of Warren, East Point, and some of the other police departments. Right now, if you had to design a system from the Department of Redundancy Department, you would come up with a system where detectives type data, the prosecutor's office retype the same data, the district court retypes the same data, and then the circuit court retypes the same data. We are working to eliminate that, and we are very close to going live with part of it already under the Tyler New World system, thanks to Macomb County Sheriff, Clinton Township Police Department, Sterling Heights Police Department, New Baltimore, and Chesterfield. So they'll be the first ones. They will be able to put reports and type it once in their system and transmit it to us. The next part, we started with them just because New World was used by some of the more departments. The next step up would be Clemis, because we want to bring more on so that they can get the same benefit that the New World agencies are.
Are these integrations one time or are they annual? We're going to pay a fee for them?
There's typically a one-time cost, and then it goes into the maintenance budget of JACO's, which you were asking why it gets so big.
Okay. And then the staff that's doing this currently right now, what will you do with that staff? Because you'll have an you're actually using technology, but what will you do with the staff that's currently doing it?
Actually, right now, we are already using our staff to the fullest extent because we currently get this stuff brought in electronically already. The problem that we're trying to solve is that detectives are having to do double data entry. Right now, they enter it into the detectives report writing system such as New World or Clemis, but then they re-enter it into our Carpel law enforcement portal. So we're getting these things electronically. The problem is there's a delay, and that's not very efficient because the detectives are having to double do this. And so this would close that gap and solve that problem through interfaces that are being used in other places in the country.
Okay, last question. On the capital plan, you've got an audit and training request in here. What's listed for Carpel for $20,000. That's different than in the other training in your amendments list. Is
That's
that
right.
correct?
What the label should be is for, I think that's the one for custom reports. Because one of the things when you use systems that are very good and used throughout the country, the advantage is they can do a lot for you. The downside is that sometimes you have to pay to get your own data. And so when we want data to make things more accountable, we have to pay for a custom report for that. We want the in-house ability to do that, and until we're able to get on this agreement with the IT department on how to get that in-house, we have to pay for these custom reports. Once we pay for them, they're ours, and we can run them, but getting them set up is the cost.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Howard.
Hey, how are you doing today?
Good, thank you.
Good. You guys threw a lot at us. I'm trying to get my questions in the right order. I first just want to say thank you for the conviction integrity unit. I think that's one of the most important things that we do here in the county. I personally know 10 or so folks that have been incarcerated unjustly. Friend of mine did 15-year bid for murder one and was found innocent, but it took him and a volunteer lawyer 15 years to get him out of prison. And so I think what you do over there in Chicago is absolutely invaluable. Um, just a question on the interns. I am not a favor of unpaid interns. I understand your explanation of them. I would have asked other departments, but several other departments also pay their interns. Can you just discuss a little bit more about the interns and theoretically what would happen if they were not here?
Yeah, good afternoon, and thank you for the question. Thank you also for recognizing the importance, if you're going to have a conviction in a prosecutor's office, you want to validate the conviction when somebody's challenging it. The only way you validate it is take the whole skeleton apart, go from ground zero all the way up. And it's not easy, and Gail does come in at least once a month, if not more, to meet with her staff. Let's go over to the interns. I started off as an intern in Oakland County, 1200 North Telegraph. I was in the probation department, the parole department. I got no pay, but I got college credits, and that's what these interns are getting in our office. They're getting undergraduate college credits, and they're getting also law school or master's credits. There's a stringent program that has to be followed, and that is they have to put in so many hours, and they have to work so many weeks, and they have to be on time, and they have to be properly dressed, and they have to use their own gasoline, all the stuff that you're hearing about. And we get the benefit here in Macomb County. We've had over 200 interns in my office since I started this job less than 5 years ago. And I'm proud of that because I came from a product of internship, and it gives them a bird's eye view of what the county prosecutors are doing, what the judges are doing, what the defense lawyers are doing, and the ones that are in law school under a special court rule. They work under the supervision and at the direction of these individuals that are here today. You can't get it no better than that. But also just to give them something, that's training to go to the Prosecutors Association for a short period of time so they learn those skills before they meet up with us. We're still going to get them for free, but shouldn't we train them a little bit before they come to us? And there's the next thing. You know, we have problem attracting talent and or lawyers in most of all the prosecutor's office throughout the state because government doesn't pay as well as private. And as a result, we get a bird's eye view also of the talent we're going to get. Can they follow a certain task? And will they be successful here in Macomb County as it relates to their job? How much better is that? And we've hired some of these individuals that got out of law school. They may have taken a job at another prosecutor's office, but I'll be darned if they were good enough for us after we saw that. We want them back. It's a great fit, guys. And I think every department should be using them because I know that a lot of them are. We just don't pay them. They're doing this for free for us. I hope that answered the question.
It did. I think this is just maybe me personally. I just don't like the fact of unpaid interns. I think I think if we made some assumptions on the numbers of 200 interns over the course of 5 years, they have saved the county money versus paying a full-time person to do the intern's job. I just think for me personally, I think that's a moral question on like unpaid interns. I have a question about the personnel. On C50 for personnel, it looks like your increase is less than 3%. I'm just curious on why, because it also looks like your staffing stays the same.
That one I would defer to Vicky Wahlberg. That one was not in our control, so I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
The internal services nor the personnel increase on that slide was part of the recommendation. It was not the specific ask of ours, although it probably has good things in there that we would welcome, but we just don't know what that is.
Okay, I'll follow up with Vicky on it. And I guess my last question is, in regards to the marketing ask, I think one of the things that we talked about previously was around some of the new changes towards gun laws here in the state of Michigan. I know that there was some grant funding for that that's being used, and I enjoy driving around seeing that. I know other counties are doing a great job of advertising that, and also that advertisement translates to, I mean, to be blunt, less kids getting shot with unsecure firearms. And so is that also included in the 25, like continual marketing towards that, or is that only just going to be based on right now the grant that we have?
I appreciate the question, Commissioner, because it is an important topic. As you know, this is an important tool to communicate with the public. And so we don't have any marketing and promotion money in the general fund. I'm asking for the general fund to contribute 25,000 so that we're treated like the other major county departments to at least have a little bit of money in there. Now, with respect to the Safe Gun Storage Grant, which this board thankfully implemented when we got the grant award after Mr. Fisher assisted us in getting that, that grant program is slated to run this year, and then the money will be spent. And so if there's future grant opportunities like that, we will pursue that. We every year pursue grant funding to do this. However, our position and our ask for the board is that we should also have general fund money like the other county major departments so that, you know, on the off chance that Mr. Fisher doesn't continue to get grants that allow for marketing promotion, at least we have a baseline with the general fund to do things beyond just gun storage. We could do other things that, you know, we can't do because the grant's limited on the topic. There's so many topics we could talk about, Commissioner, and so that's our position on this issue, if that answers your question.
I know this is late. I know that we're the last ones. We should probably be early in the morning, but we do a lot of work on this budget. To your point, it's a blessing that we received that money from the state of Michigan. We not only just did a few billboards, but we also put pamphlets out, we put newsletters out. We received 1,000 gun locks, and we've given over 500 of those gun locks out. And parents are saying to us, face to face, thanks for thinking of the kids. We're gonna use these gun locks. You made your point. I don't want to put anybody in jail that has a child from a gun that they own that gets killed or shot. So at least we're gonna do whatever we can to get to them. We've done it on the social media. We've done everything we have to do. But when that runs out, so does the message. How do you get a gun lock out to them? How do you hold a gun fair? Like we just did the clean slate legislation that went through. We are the ones that initiated the clean slate fair that we just had. And it was our prosecutors here that wanted to have it. We're ahead of the game, guys. Farly ahead of the game. So we did have a clean slate fair over at Macomb Community College South Campus to help individuals get what they have rightfully coming to them after they've served their time or did what they had to do. They're entitled to this. But instead of answering the questions on the telephone, here, come on down, let's help you all. And we had a very successful turnout. We had other partners in that from the state that came out and did what they had to do. But I could sit here all day and tell you about the success. What you gave us, you'll never know regarding that digital evidence programming. We are saving on police cars coming out to us, saving on officers' time. It's all coming digital to us. In addition, we're getting it turned over to the Defense Council the next day, if not the same day. We don't have any more CDs that we have to give them that are broken or, scratched. And the officers now are learning from another grant that we received because we have them going out and training. We have an investigator and a lawyer going to the police departments, all 28 of them, even metro parks, and showing them how to do this work. We're saving a lot of money on those grants that are doing this for us, but there's pieces that we do need. And it's not fluff. It's necessary, and you're going to see a better result. This county needs it.
Thanks, Chair.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Thanks, Prosecutor. Before we move on to the next page, Todd, I have one question. So, as the executive's office does over the years, they meet with every department. They have in mind what they're thinking. Your office and other offices have in mind what you're thinking in terms of, additions, subtractions, things like that. Obviously, this is what you did not receive. Did you walk in there with another list
Yes.
of things you did receive?
I don't think, and Vicky can correct me if I'm wrong, on our general fund budget, I don't think that the increases, it was pretty much what, yeah, go ahead.
Basically
I
what
don't
you
think
stated
we-
before with
I
personnel and
think it was
internal
just what was done
services.
before, pretty much, yeah.
Todd is correct. So yes, they came in with their budget ask. I think there was almost 1.1 or 1.3 over what was recommended. And then we essentially stuck with what was initially recommended, with the exception of the IT person that is in the IT budget for the prosecutor's office.
Got it. Thank you, Vicky.
I will say communication has been great with Vicky, although it wasn't the news that we wanted to hear that was included in the recommendation, which is why we are here. But she and I spoke a few times, including giving her a preview of all of the amendments that we're going through today before we got here today.
Good. Thank you, Todd. All right, seeing no other speakers on those 2 pages, we will go to the federal forfeitures item, which is going to be page D29 in your books, Commissioners. Joe, go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, so we're looking at the state forfeitures. Let me just back up here to D29. Okay, federal forfeitures is pretty straightforward. There's a fund balance of approximately $5,000. At the time we got our budget sheets from the Finance Department, we weren't sure what the fund balance was. What had happened was essentially, now that we know about the fund balance, we would like to do a budget amendment, putting $5,000, which is the fund balance, to work to pay for a specific carpel custom report that Todd already talked about earlier. And so this is a way to defray the cost to the general fund. We have $5,000 here, and we'd like to use it for that purpose. It's no cost to the general fund, of course, and it's for a carpel custom report that once we pay it, it's ours. That's all I have on D29, unless there's any questions on that. I can move on to D30.
Let me see, Joe. Hold on one second. Commissioners, any questions on page D29? Nope. Keep going, Joe.
Okay. This is pretty straightforward, too. This is the prosecuting attorney forfeitures. This is actually state forfeitures. That's the difference between the previous one we just looked at, which is federal. Here, we're just simply asking for a $10,000 budget amendment to restore what was in this year's budget. And so that's all we're looking for. And so this is $10,000 less in conferences and training that we were able to pay out of the forfeitures this year that we would like to do next year. So just maintaining the status quo that wasn't included in the exec's recommended budget. That's D30. I can proceed to D31, 32, which is the grants budget, if you'd like, Commissioners.
Hold on, Joe, one second. Commissioners, before we move on, are there any questions on page D30? I don't see any. Proceed,
Okay.
Joe.
So on D31, D32, this is always interesting. So this is one budget sheet that represents multiple grant budgets. And so it has the digital evidence grant, the hate crimes grant, the auto theft grant, cooperative reimbursement, which is the child support collections, victim rights, DNA, conviction, and integrity. We're going to have to make some changes with the board with respect to the position schedule because, and we'll get to the slide and we'll just go in order. Here's the reference to the grants I just outlined. And so with respect to D32, we're asking for an $8,600 contribution from the general fund to make some moves here. We provided the list of amendments to you in the form of a Excel sheet. This is with respect to amendment number 17. And so this is pretty straightforward. We have operations people running the child support collection unit. We're being very successful, but we can do better. And we can do better by changing the organization of this unit by making some position changes. And so what we're asking for is the fact that with only $8,600 coming from the general fund with this amendment, the grant would kick in another $17,000 that's listed there. And that combined amount would cover the extra expense of in the child support collections unit to eliminate an APA-2 in order to put in a principal trial lawyer and to eliminate an office assistant senior and to add an administrative coordinator. We're recommending this budget amendment because if this board approves it, our intention is to do more in terms of the collections, which we've been incredibly successful with cooperative reimbursement. And so I have a slide here. I believe it's included, yeah. 3.49. 3.4. So there we go. So it's a 2/3, 1/3 split in cooperative reimbursement for this. And, okay. All right, before I go to that, I just want to make sure I have the revenue thing. I apologize, I don't have this right away.
This is the unit under the program that you've supported that has brought in $3.4 million under the new program that targets those who owe $5,000 or more in child support. So it's been
Thank
very
you, Todd.
successful.
And I just wanted, I was double checking, it's actually over 3.5 million, so I wanted to get the most recent number we got today from the unit. So we're doing incredibly well, and I'll move on from that amendment. So this is for another adjustment, and really what we're trying to do with this amendment, Commissioners, is replicate what this board did in September. In September, we came before you on the Conviction Integrity DNA grant. We made some position schedules. We think because of the timing, it wasn't included in the recommended budget. There'd be no cost to the general fund because the grant would pay for the change. And so we're just looking to mirror what the board did a couple months ago. And so this is the summary of the grant positions. You can see that we have 28.5 FTEs for the professional support, 1 for the manager. The clerical staff with the amendment fix that we're asking for here would up it to 13, and so there's a list of people there, 44 people. I can move on to the witness fee budget if the board would like, or I can have questions. I can answer questions, of course.
We've got one question so far. Commissioner Goike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I really like that idea, about going for the people, and you got 3.5. My question is pretty simple. Of the 3.5, is that total money go to that parent, that the money is owed, or is there other collections taken away from that so they get the total amount?
I think for this, since I believe Kim is here, would it be okay for you guys to hear directly from the unit chief? Because I think she'd be more informed.
I would like to hear. Yeah.
Absolutely. Kim, if you don't mind quickly responding for the commissioner?
Good evening, everybody. How are you?
Good.
If you could repeat the question, I think you were
Okay, the
asking.
question was, if there was 3.5 received, did the total 3.5 go to the parent that the money was owed, or was there monies taken out of that for, fees for this to happen for them?
It goes to the parent
100%.
or the state if they owe state funding back.
Okay.
But majority of it goes to the parent.
So there's no fees on,
No.
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Zinner.
Thank you, Chair. Someone had a situation with their child, and they had paid, or whatever, I don't know, I don't remember the story now, but he thought, this was quite a while ago, that when something like that happened, that the office got some kind of reimbursement out of that. But this was quite a while ago. It isn't from right now, our time period. So the office does not get anything like that now?
Yeah, all right.
The state of Michigan has a DHHS fund. There's a portion of that that goes to mothers that don't have child support coming in or stipends for Section 8 housing, maybe vendoring of lights and gas, et cetera. That money has to go back to the state because the state is paying for this. However, most of these cases that we have 5,000 or more, judges can't let them out of jail unless they pay 25% of the then owing arrearage on the case. So if it's $10,000 they owe and it's in arrearage, $2,500 has to be given up front before they're released under the statute. Judges can't play with that. As a result, a lot of these cases, you can't believe it, the money comes out of the walls. Families get together and they just love each other at that time to get the person out of jail. This is a successful program because we've got now Michigan Works involved. And thank you for showing up. That's what I like. Commissioners are showing up. They're offering their time to understand this. And we're giving people jobs that otherwise maybe not be given them, like convicted felons, soft felons. They're getting a job that day from Michigan Works. You can start tomorrow. Now you can pay your child support.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. All right, no other questions on those 2 pages, so we'll jump to the district court witness fees, which is page C27. Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, this is pretty straightforward. We have no changes, and, we're going to go with the finances recommend on this.
Commissioners, any questions here?
Here's a slide explaining what people get paid from that budget in case there was any question on, what the public can receive. We think it should be higher, but for what it's worth.
Thank you, Joe. All right, I see no other questions from commissioners. Joe, Todd, final comments, prosecutor, final comments?
The final one to close it out, just because it was mentioned earlier, it's not directly in our budget, but it's something we are in support of. So the recommended budget, as Vicky mentioned, does include an additional staff member in the IT department to be stationed in the prosecutor's office. It's a systems technician. If you look at the fresh service tickets, which is the ticketing system for support requests, the number that our office has put in is, at the time that we wrote in this justification anyway, way higher than a lot of the other support requests. We have a need, just like the court has a need and they have support, just like the county commission has a need and you've got your technician. We have one already, it's a business systems analyst, but the way it's divided in IT, that person does different important things than a system tech who can go around and help fix printers, help reconfigure, do everything for our 150 plus bodies in the office. So the county executive's office and our office agree completely on the need for this. We followed with interest, though, your debate earlier, and we're curious how it's going to come out as to, if you really want to know the true cost of the prosecutor's office, should you count in the cost the things like the prosecutor's office case management system, this type of staff person, or is it not counted because it's in the IT department? So however we wouldn't be opposed to how you end up doing that. We just want to get the body in there. The bottom line is the body. And I heard our IT director rightly point out security needs are an issue, but that's been addressed. It's been addressed of how it works with your system tech person. The speaker you heard for us with the sheriff's dispatch, they have it in their budget, but they're able to work out security. There's different levels of security rights. And so the staff member who installs printer doesn't need to be given the security codes to open up the firewall to the outside. There's different levels. There is a way that this could work. The model that we currently have is working, and the recommendation we think would work for us, but we're not opposed to working with you if at some point it becomes worth revisiting how that's counted. We just want to get the body in there.
Todd, Chair Sabatini's got a question or a comment.
Thank you. Todd, just to be clear on this, we do not have a systems tech. We have a liaison, so they work directly with IT, with the help desk. So we don't have that exact type of position is what you're referencing there in the slide. So I just want to let the commissioners know. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Todd, real quick question for me. How many IT tickets do you guys handle daily, weekly?
I'd have to pull the numbers off the top of my head. I'm sorry, I don't have it.
That's fine. Could you find out?
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you. All right, now there's no other.
So the final, just so you know, we've won 34 national awards. It's gone from a turbulent time to a recognized office. Maybe Prosecutor Lucido, if you want to say a final comment. Last year, you said ours was the best longest presentation. We're hoping for the best, not necessarily the longest, but that we wanted to get you what you need. And we hope that you'll find it's been a good return on investment for what you're giving in the office. Prosecutor Lucido.
Yes. Now, first of all, thank all of you, and I mean that sincerely, because a lot of times somebody doesn't show up, and I said it earlier. I've had you show up, so thanks. All I need you to do is understand what it is that we do and how we do it. And then everything falls into place. The door's always open. I've always asked you, if you have a question, you want to see how this process works, we're going to do it. But thanks for the guys and the gals that came, showed up, and did what they had to do. Our offer is always on the table, which is come and see us. Lastly, I'm very proud of what the work we do. I'm extremely proud of the people, how talented they are, and how they work together, and how they get the stuff done. We have victims in this county, and you can see it every day, what we're doing, because we're out there telling you. But it's how we do it. Victim service, I call it. Give those victims what they deserve. They didn't want to be a victim, but since they are, give them what they deserve. Let's get them taken care of, and let's not go ahead and waste anybody's time or money. I know you're a good steward every day of the money. So thanks for taking the time with us too, because I think it's important that your constituents know when you go back to your district, number one is public safety. Without it, everything else doesn't matter in my world. Thank you very much for hearing us today.
Thank you, Prosecutor. Joe, Todd, the rest of the team, thank you all. Appreciate the presentation, taking our questions, being very thorough. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, Commissioners.
We have a motion and support. Please vote. Thank you. Next is going to be public participation. Anybody from the public wishing to speak on any issue they'd like for a maximum of 3 minutes is welcome to the podium.
If I learned anything as a trial lawyer.
3 minutes, Steve.
Bookend the start and the end, right? That's what we do. Right? We're trial lawyers. When I'm talking about principal trial attorneys, principal APAs, I like what Todd just said. He said the true cost of the prosecutor's office. Well, what is the true value? And what is the reality of what we do? Commissioner Howard, I was especially interested in your statement about someone who's wrongly charged, if not held. Commissioner Sabatini, talking about the value of the integrity unit. Those are life-changing decisions, right? And remember, those decisions first are screened by people like me. I'm the chief of our major crimes unit, the other members of the major crimes unit. Our job is not to get a toaster oven with the multiple convictions at the end of the year. Our very first job when the police walk in is to act like defense attorneys. What are we doing to make sure that this man or this woman is not charged improperly? What are we doing to make sure others don't suffer what Chairman Howard's friend did? What are we doing ultimately when we decide to charge someone? We hold them accountable and we get justice for the victim, for the mom in your neighborhood whose child was sexually assaulted or who was kidnapped or killed. Those are the cases principal trial attorneys deal with. And I love Gail Pamlikov's work. She's incredible, and her 26-count caseload is incredible for the volume. But those 10,000-page cases start with principal trial attorneys. That's where it starts. And I have close to 200 cases on my docket. Principal trial attorneys are the tip of the spear. We're the top of the escalator. We are the supervisors. We are the trainers. We are not administration, admittedly. But we are the ones who make those calls that are so important to your constituents, to their families, to their businesses, to your neighborhoods, each of your neighborhoods. We're not asking for anything special. We're not asking to be bumped ahead of others. We're asking for the parity that the classification study demanded we get, that your Board of Commissioners said we should get, and that unfortunately a prior mistake stopped us from maintaining. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm asking you to do this because you have, especially under 49.34, not to get too nerdy and all lawyerly, but that specific statute says that the, quote, respective salaries of said assistant prosecuting attorneys shall be fixed by the Board of Supervisors. That's you. So you can make this decision to go forward with the budget approval for what Peter Lucido fully supports. He wrote a letter in support of it. He put it in his initial budget proposal. He discussed it with the chair, with the Finance Committee. Because this is what's right. We handle these cases beginning to end. We don't get to refer things out. We don't get to send complex things to other councils. We handle them from start to finish. We handle the crying moms, the crying children. We handle the fallout, and we handle the unhappy victims because we tell them, you know what? It's not good enough. I cannot charge. And I've done that myself. I've had more than a dozen of those conversations where we refuse to charge. Some of them, very high-profile homicides, we refuse to charge because, you know what? I'm never going to be sitting here thinking I put someone who shouldn't be in prison in there. I'm not willing to do that, and every principal trial attorney I know in my office is in the exact same boat as me.
You have 30 seconds, Steve.
So where's the parity? And what does this county value the most? Its civil assets or the people who live in it, the people who run it? Do you value yourselves? Do you value your family more? We're not asking for more. We're asking for the same as Wayne County, which is on par. And I gave you documentation with public record information showing assistant corporation counsel and trial attorneys, not administration. Trial attorneys in Wayne County are paid exactly the same. In Oakland and Kent County, trial attorneys, not administration, are both paid more than assistant corporation counsel. We're not
Steve, your
asking for
time's
that.
up.
We want parity, and we hope, and we thank you for your effort to do that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I wasn't going to speak, but after Steve spoke, I felt compelled to speak. My name is John Paul Hunt. Been with the county for 20 years. I am the chief of the Warrants Division. And the point I want to make to all of you commissioners, first of all, thank you for your time, for your effort, and thank you for listening to everything that our office asked for. but I want to piggyback on Prosecutor Lucito's request for all of you to come to our office to take the time to speak to the members of the prosecutor's office. We all didn't get to come before you today. We have very hardworking people, all of us in our office, but people like Stephanie Stager, the chief of the CPU unit, or Tanya Getz, who's no longer, she's in the back, the chief of the juvenile unit. Our chiefs, if you get to take the time to spend and talk to them about the things that we're going through and the things that we need, it's one-on-one conversation that I think that you'll find very intriguing, and it'll give you a better understanding of what we actually do in the office. Steve said he found Commissioner Howard's story about his friend that was wrongly imprisoned for 15 years. I too, it went straight to my heart. I can tell you that when I first started as chief of the warrants unit, I want to give you an example or a story that's actually a true case. East Point submitted a warrant request for felony firearm, or I'm sorry, CCW. CCW is obviously the unlawful carrying of a weapon if you don't have a CPL license. There were 4 young African Americans in a car. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. They were driving up and down the street in East Point, and a woman got scared because they kept slowing down right at this one house. What had happened was the 4 young African Americans were at a party. There was a disagreement, whatever. They thought that person lived at that particular house. They were wrong. She calls the police. The police come, they stop the car. 20-year-old driver, his 18-year-old brother's in the back, and 2 African American females, 18, 19 years old, whatever they were. They pull the driver out, and they ask, is there anything in the car? Nope, there's nothing in the car. They go to the back of the car, and the 18-year-old brother's sitting there with a gun in between his feet, and they say, where'd that gun come from? He says, my brother just handed it to me. He told me to throw it under the seat, but you guys pulled up too quick. So he was truthful. The brother that was in the car right next to the suspect car says, yup, that's my gun. I don't have a CPL. They asked for CCW charges on everybody in that car. So think about that. The 3 other people in that car were going to be charged with a 5-year felony, starting out their lives, starting going to college, starting to get a job. Just imagine if they would have had that 5-year felony on their record. That's unjust. And as Steve said, we have people that work tirelessly in our office, and you're right, Steve, we're like defense attorneys. We're trying to make sure that if there's a charge, because that's the one thing Pete instilled in me when he said, oh, I'm giving you the chief position, you better make damn sure that those charges can stick. So I implore you to come visit our office and talk to our chiefs of our units to get to better know what they do. And thank you for the time and the ability to speak today.
Thank you. Anybody else for public participation? Anybody else? All right, we will close public participation and move on to commissioner comments. Any commissioners wishing to speak?
Can I have something?
Commissioner Goyke?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make a quick comment. If anybody doesn't know, we lost Gary Shockey up in Bruce Township. He was a longtime township supervisor for 28 years, from 1980 to 2008, and he just passed away. So if anybody have known him, I just wanted to express that. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Lucido.
Yes, I only have one request. Next year when I do the budget, can we just give Pete his own day? That's all I have. Thank you.
Noted and taken into consideration, Commissioner.
This was a lot shorter.
Seeing no other commissioner comments, motion to adjourn from Commissioner Romano, support from
Pretty good.
Commissioner Zinner.
There we go.
Everybody vote.
His was.
We are adjourned.
We always try to improve it.